dog in 1990. I was a graduate student, and we were trying to automate what engineers did. And one of the papers that was cited for that was augmenting human intellect. And I tried to find the book and the paper. I didn't find it. And then I rummaged around and I found that we had it in our library. Doug had just donated his collection to Stanford University. So I thought, okay, let me just go down to the library and spend 2 hours, read the paper, and just know what he had to say. I spent the next 2 weeks in the library reading through all the papers he had given to Stanford, and I was amazed at the breadth and the depth. I think the word to use is the comprehensiveness of his vision. And it occurred to me that, well, why aren't we referring more to his work, that he's done it quite a fair amount. So I asked the librarian, well, this Doug Engelbart, where can I find him? And so the librarian gave me Doug's number. This was a Friday. I called him on the phone and he said, come on over on Monday. And I was just flabbergasted at the humility he had, that the amount of work he had done, and it was just phenomenal. So for the next 3 years, we worked together, Bill Dole was around, on doing what we call the bootstrap workshops. It was a workshop where we brought people together, and part of Doug's vision was that the development of tools must accompany or co-evolve with the development of the human system, that we couldn't separate both of them. And those workshops were very, very frustrating for us, because we'll get the people on the tool side, but they don't want to know anything about the human side. And when we get the human side people, they don't want to know anything about tools. And we had this constant struggle. I mean, I probably close to about 10 different workshops. And that was one of the things that I saw, this co-evolution of humans and both the human organization and the tool. One of the things Doug often said in his workshops was, if you want to do something, let me put it properly, your ability to innovate in the world is directly proportional to your ability to be embarrassed. And he spoke about, because people looked at the mouse and said, that's just a toy back then. And he said, never be afraid to be embarrassed. Just try and move your vision forward. I saw Doug last on June 28th. I had gone to visit with himself and Karen, and we just had a marvelous time. I had just come back from a trip to India, and I was sharing with them part of that trip. Several years ago, I had met a person by the name of Dwakoji, who was in the state of Bihar in India. And he had this idea that how can we bring science and spirituality together? And it was interesting. So when he visited Stanford, I took him to the genetics lab. Okay, that's like, I mean, it's a bit concrete. I don't know this science. But he made a very interesting analogy. He said, you folks in the West have explored a lot in science, in geography. We have a whole geography of landscape. He said, we in India have also we've also explored the inner mind, and that there's a whole geography in our inside that is comparable to the geography on the outside. And that was at the back of my mind as I was talking to Doug and Karen. And what struck me was that, in fact, his vision must have come from a very deep sense of spirituality. And that it was his, and people in the, within that realm tend to express the notion of the light that people have within them. And what was interesting was that I think in just talking with Doug, one realized that he did not have a strong sense of ego. So the light was there, and just moving the ego away allowed the light to come through, and we would call it visionary. And that was just spectacular. Even as we joked, he always asked me, so who are you again, Ade? And I saw that, in fact, this notion of our co-evolution, it's not, in a sense, just about the tool and the human, but it's about, he talked about collective intelligence. Carl Jung talked about collective unconscious, that there is something there, and he was able to, in fact, personify that evolution that we must do as humans. I think one of the key things is that as we all are here, we're all witnesses to that legacy that he has left us, and we're all called to carry that vision forward. Thank you.